The following is a conversation with Mark Zuckerberg inside the MetaVerse. Mark and I are hundreds of miles apart from each other in physical space, but it feels like we're in the same room because we appear to each other as photorealistic codec avatars in 3D with spatial audio. This technology is incredible, and I think it's the future of how human beings connect to each other in a deeply meaningful way on the internet. These avatars can capture many of the nuances of facial expressions that we humans use to communicate emotion to each other. Now, I just need to work on upgrading my emotion expressing capabilities of the underlying human. This is the Lex Fridman podcast. And now, dear friends, here's Mark Zuckerberg. This is so great. Lighting change? Wow.
Yeah, we can put the light anywhere.
And it doesn't feel awkward to be really close to you.
No, it does. I moved you back a few feet before you got into the headset. You were like right here.
I don't know if people can see this, but this is incredible. The realism here is just incredible. Where am I? Where are you, Mark? Where are we?
You're in Austin, right?
No, I mean this place. We're shrouded by darkness with ultra realistic face, and it just feels like we're in the same room. This is really the most incredible thing I've ever seen. And sorry to be in your personal space.
I mean,
we have done jiu-jitsu before.
Yeah, no, I was commenting to the team before that even that I feel like we've choked each other from further distances than it feels like we are right now.
I mean, this is just really incredible. I don't know how to describe it with words. It really feels like we're in the same room.
Yeah.
It feels like the future. This is truly, truly incredible. I just wanted to take it in. I'm still getting used to it. It's like, it's you. It's really you. But you're not here with me, right? You're there wearing a headset, and I'm wearing a headset. It's really, really incredible. So what, can you describe what it takes currently for us to appear so photorealistic to each other?
Yeah. So, I mean, for background, we both did these scans for this research project that we have at Meta called Codec Avatars. And the idea is that instead of our avatars being cartoony, and instead of actually transmitting a video, what it does is we've sort of scanned ourselves and a lot of different expressions, and we've built a computer model of sort of each of our faces and bodies and the different expressions that we make, and collapse that into a codec that then, when you have the headset on your head, it sees your face, it sees your expression, and it can basically send an encoded version of what you're supposed to look like over the wire. So in addition to being photorealistic, it's also actually much more bandwidth efficient than transmitting a full video, or especially a 3D immersive video of a whole scene like this.
And it captures everything, like the flaws, like to me, the subtleties of the human face, like even the flaws, that's all amazing. It makes it so much more immersive. It makes you realize that like perfection isn't the thing that leads to immersion. It's like the little subtle flaws, like freckles and like variations in color and just
wrinkles,
all stuff
asymmetry.
About noses, asymmetry, and just the different, like the corners of the eyes, like what your eyes do when you smile, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, eyes are a huge part of it. Yeah, I mean, there's all the studies that most of communication, even when people are speaking, is not actually the words that they're saying, right? It's kind of the expression and all that. So, and we try to capture that with the kind of classical expressive avatar system that we have. That's the kind of more cartoon designed one. You can kind of put those kind of expressions on those faces as well. But there's obviously a certain realism that comes with delivering kind of this photorealistic experience that I don't know. I just think it's really magical. I mean, this gets to kind of the core of what the vision around virtual and augmented reality is, of like delivering a sense of presence as if you're there together, no matter where you actually are in the world. And I mean, this experience, I think, is a good embodiment of that, where it's like, I mean, we're in two completely different states halfway across the country, and it just like, looks like you're just sitting right in front of me. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I can't. I'm almost getting emotional. It's like it feels like a totally, it's fundamentally new experience. Like for me to have this kind of conversations with loved ones, it would just change everything. Maybe just to elaborate. So I went to Pittsburgh and went through the whole scanning procedure, which has so much incredible technology, so software and hardware going on. But it is a lengthy process. So what's your vision for the future of this in terms of making this more accessible to people?
It starts off with a small number of people doing these very detailed scans, right? Which is that's the version that you did and that I did. And, before there are a lot of people who we've done this kind of a scan for, we probably need to kind of over collect expressions when we're doing the scanning, because we haven't figured out how much we can reduce that down to a really streamlined process, and extrapolate from the scans that have already been done. But the goal, and we have a project that's working on this already, is just to do a very quick scan with your cell phone, where you just take your phone, kind of wave it in front of your face for a couple of minutes, say a few sentences, make a bunch of expressions, but overall have the whole process just be 2 to 3 minutes, and then produce something that's of the quality of what we have right now. So I think that's one of the big challenges that remains. And right now we have the ability to do the scans if you have hours to sit for one. And with today's technology, I mean, you're using a Meta headset that exists. It's a product that's kind of for sale now. You can drive these with that. But the production of these scans in a very efficient way is one of the last pieces that we still need to really nail. And then obviously there's all the experiences around it. I mean, right now we're kind of sitting in a dark room, which is familiar for your podcast. But I think part of the vision for this over time is not just having this be like a video call. I mean, that's fine. It's cool, or it feels like it's immersive. But you can do a video call on your phone. The thing that you can do in the metaverse that is different from what you can do on a phone is like doing stuff where you're physically there together and participating in things together. And we could play games like this. We could have meetings like this in the future. Once you get mixed reality and augmented reality, we could have codec avatars like this and go into a meeting and have some people physically there and have some people show up in this photorealistic form, superimposed on the physical environment. And I think that stuff like that is going to be super powerful. So we got to still build out all those kind of applications and the use cases around it. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a pretty wild next few years around this.
I mean, I'm actually almost at a loss of words. This is just so incredible. This is truly incredible. I hope that people like watching this can get a glimpse of like how incredible it is. It really feels like we're in the same room. Like there is that, I guess there's an uncanny valley that seems to have been crossed here. Like it looks like you.
Yeah.
Like
I think
you.
There's still a bunch of tuning that I think we'll want to do where different people emote to different extents, right? So I think one of the big questions is, like when you smile, how wide is your smile, and how wide do you want your smile to be? And I think getting that to be tuned on a per person basis is going to be one of the things that we're going to need to figure out. It's like, to what extent do you want to give people control over that? Some people might try to, might prefer a version of themselves that's more emotive in their avatar than their actual face is. So for example, I always get a lot of critique and shit for having like a relatively stiff expression. But I might feel pretty happy, but just make a pretty small smile. So maybe for me, I would it's actually it's like I'd want to have my avatar really be able to better express like how I'm feeling than how I can do physically. So I think that there's a question about how you want to tune that, but overall, yeah, we want to start from the baseline of capturing how people actually emote and express themselves. And I think the initial version of this has been pretty impressive. And like you said, I do think we're kind of beyond the uncanny valley here, where it does feel like you. It doesn't feel weird or anything like that.
I mean, that's going to be the meme that the two most monotone people are in a metaverse together. But I think that actually makes it more difficult. Like the amazing thing here is that the subtleties of the expression of the eyes. People say I'm monotone and emotionless, but I'm not. It's just this. Maybe my expression of emotion is more subtle, usually, like with the eyes, and that's one of the things I've noticed is just how expressive the subtle movement of the corners of the eyes are in terms of displaying happiness or boredom or all that kind of stuff.
I am curious to see, just because I've never done one of these before. I've never done a podcast as one of these codec avatars. I'm curious to see what people think of it, because one of the issues that we've had in some of the VR and mixed reality work is it tends to feel a lot more profound when you're in it than the 2D videos capturing the experience. So I think that this one, because it's photorealistic, may look kind of as amazing in 2D for people watching it as it feels, I think, to be in it. But we've certainly had this issue where a lot of the other things, just it's like you feel the sense of immersion when you're in it that doesn't quite translate to a 2D screen. But I don't know. I'm curious to see what people think.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if people could see that. Like my heart is actually beating fast now. This is super interesting. Like that such intimacy of conversation can be achieved remotely. There's been, I don't do remote podcasts for this reason, and this is like breaks all of that. This feels like just an incredible transition to something else, to the different kind of communication. Breaks all barriers, like geographic, physical barriers. What you mentioned, do you have a sense of timeline in terms of how many difficult things have to be solved to make this more accessible to like scanning with a smartphone?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll probably roll this out progressively over time. So it's not going to be like we roll it out and one day everyone has a codec avatar. We want to get more people scanned and into the system, and then we want to start integrating it into each one of our apps, right? Making it so that, I think that for a lot of the work style things, productivity, I think that this is going to make a ton of sense. In a lot of game environments, I mean, this could be fine, but games tend to have their own style, right? Where you almost want to fit more with the aesthetic style of the game. But I think for doing meetings, and one of the things that we get a lot of feedback on workrooms, where people are pretty blown away by the experience and this feeling that you can like be remote but feel like you're physically there around a table with people. But then we get some feedback that people have a hard time with the fact that the avatars are so expressive and don't feel as realistic in that environment. So I think something like this could make a very big difference for those remote meetings, and especially with Quest 3 coming out, which is going to be the first mainstream mixed reality product, right? Where you're really taking digital, expressions of either a person or objects and overlaying them on the physical world. I think the ability to do kind of remote meetings and things like that, where you're like just remote hang sessions with friends. I mean, I think that that's going to be very exciting. So yeah, rolling it out over the next few years. It's not ready to be like a kind of mainstream product yet, but we'll keep tuning it and keep getting more scans in there and keep and kind of rolling it out into more of the features. But yeah, I mean, definitely in the next few years, you'll be seeing a bunch more experiences like this.
Yeah, I would love to see some celebrities scanned and some non-celebrities. I just more people to experience this. I would love to see that. This is something, I mean, my mind is blown. I'm literally at a loss of words because it's very difficult to just convey how incredible this is. How I feel the emotion, how I feel the presence, how I feel like the subtleties of the emotion in terms of like work meetings or any kind of, in terms of podcasts. This is awesome. And I don't even need your arms or legs. Is that
well? We got to get that. I mean, that's its own challenge. And part of the question is also, so you have the scan, then it takes a certain amount of compute to go drive that, both for the sensors on the headset and then rendering it. So one of the things that we're working through is what is the level of fidelity that is optimal, right? You could do the full body in kind of a codec, and that can be quite intensive, but one of the things that we're thinking about is like, all right, maybe you can kind of stitch a somewhat lower fidelity version of your body, would still have the main kind of the major movements, but your face is really the thing that we have the most resolution on, right? In terms of being able to read and express emotions. I mean, like you said, if you move your eyebrows like a millimeter, I mean, that really changes the expression and what you're emoting. Whereas, moving your arm